Hello and welcome to my channel. Just doing a water pump today on Cambelt water pump with an alternator belt and some coolant on a VW 1.4 petrol. So before you do any job on a car, one thing I advise you to do is a fault memory check, so you know what faults are in there before you've done anything, and then you can also check to make sure you haven't put any faults in after. So quite an important thing to do. So you don't want to do some work on a car and then think afterwards, oh, have I put that fault in the car by working on it, then not knowing if you have or you haven't. So this is your evidence to prove. So as you can see here, done a fault memory check, so only 2 faults. So I'll just store this. Let's skip that. So I'll just get a diagnostic report up, just tells me what faults are in there. So it's good for you, it's good for the customer, makes you, or whoever you're doing it for, whether it's just your own car. So just know what faults are in there before you've started work, and again, just to make sure you haven't done anything. So that's that. So we're going to get into this. So have got the car, I've jacked it up, it's hard to see, that's pretty dark out here. So, but I have jacked the car up, I've got an axle stand underneath of it, I've took the wheel off, and I've took the wheel arch liner out as well, so just a couple of bits. So this is the wheel arch liner here, so it is just held on by some T25s, so they're not very hard to find. You can see where they just screw in as they go around, so it's a pretty simple thing to go get off. So didn't bother recording that. So the main thing that we want to watch is, what I'm guessing people will be watching this for, is how to do the Cambelt and the water pump. One thing, as you can see, it's a good job. If you're ever doing a Cambelt water pump, always advise as well to get the alternator belt. So you don't want to get to this point where you're doing it and realise the alternator belt's quite good as well. So as you can see, this one needs replacing. So let's get into this and let's see what we have to do to get this job completed. First thing I do then is load up Haynes Pros, what I'm using, it's the workshop data, and then I will go down to timing belt. This then loads up the repair instructions, so I have a good read through all of this to make sure I'm familiar with what's required to do a job like this, what tools are going to be needed to do a job like this, then I can prepare myself before I take on the job. So as you can see, this is how the pulley or the belts go on, depending if you got aircon or without aircon, and then it talks about supporting the engine and how to do that. So I'm going to start going through all of this. So I've took the wheel arch liner out, so the most important thing that I need to do now is to start getting to the Cambelt itself. So here we have removal, so it's going to talk you through this. So as you can see here, it says take the air filter off, remove the engine covers, remove the timing belt upper cover, right wheel, splash guard, make a note of where the belt is, which is pretty relevant because we're having a new belt. Remove the auxiliary drive belt, so we'll get to that bit where we're taking the belt off, and we've done these other bits, so, and then we'll get the belt off. I'll show you how you do that, and then we'll start marking this and so on. So see how we get on then. So it did say take the airbox off. I'm not too sure why, because it's nowhere near where we need to be. So look at the timing case cover then. Let's see, these are just clipped in, so nice and easy. And clip the clips, so one there, one around the back, just down here, so you can just about make it out. So just flip that off, and that is all there is to that. So that is nice and easy to remove, no issues there. What you do then with the just down there, so that is the tensioner there, so that is a 16mm bolt in the middle. So I'll put a tool, I see poking out, so what you do is put a 16mm socket or spanner, whatever, on that, and then turn that clockwise and it will take the tension off. So once the tension's off, then you can just pull the belt off. So you can put a pin in, so there is a little space to put a pin. So to show you where that space is, so once the tension's off, I put the pin in because it just makes it easier then to move the belt and put the belt back on. Make sure if you haven't got something that tells you how the belt goes back on afterwards, make sure you make a note of which way the belt runs. But looking for me, I've got that information, so I'll just double check before I put the belt back on. So as you can see down there, so you can see a bit more clearly then where the pin just runs through, and it just locks it off and just keeps it in that nice position. So when you put the belt on, then all you got to do then is put the 16 back on it, pull the pin out, and it'll go straight to where it was. So now we're going to support the engine, get something underneath it now, so that'll just be a jack with a block of wood to support it. And you can remove this washer box, well, not remove it, since you move it out of the way. So there is a couple of nuts underneath this wiring as well, so I'm going to move this wiring out, a couple of 10 mils. Obviously I should just push it out of the way, undo these bolts, then this mount will come off, and again some on the side, and that mount will pop off, and then we'll be where we need to be to start getting into this timing job. Potentially been off before as well, look. So someone's already been here, it's been marked. So I've got the mount off now, and I've got the timing tool, so this is what it tells you to use. So popped in, and it tells you to turn around. So I've turned the crankshaft round, so just to show you, there's a little notch, you'll see it just there, very slight mark in the crank pulley, and it needs to line it up with the mark on that side, so you can see that one there. So they're both in line. So always make sure everything's in line before you take a belt off, so you're comfortable with what is going on. So then if you look at the pulleys, there's a hole here and also a hole there. So when you get this tool, so this holds the belt. There's actually two belts on this, and as you can see it goes in nice, and they're both at the same level. So this is one cam belt and this is another cam belt. So you see that goes through. So make sure, let's say you're happy, everything's where it should be before you start a job. So have got the endoscope set up. So I'm just going to show you what is going on as well, just for a little bit more detail. So if we have a look, so this was the pulley, so we're just having a look here. So I just want to show you what actually happens when it lines up. So keep an eye on there, as you can see in there is where it goes in, so it's actually a little lug in the head that goes through. And again, if you have a look at the one on the other side, as you can see there, again also another lug where that is located, or hole for the timing tools to go in. So you need to make sure that they're perfectly lined up. As you can see there, that one's pretty sound, and again that one is also very good. So that's all okay. These tools should just go drop in, which we've seen does happen, so you know everything is all okay there before you've started your job. So I'm going to get the bottom pulley undone now, and then get the time cover off. To get the bottom pulley undone, I'll use a big Milwaukee gun and just zap that bolt straight off. So the mount and the lower cover and the pulley have all been removed. So I undid the pulley on the bottom and on the mount. So just to show you the timing case cover, the lower one, just a clip there, 1, 2, 3 bolts. So remove that, and again the engine mount was just 4, and these were just 16 mils. So just under them 4, pulled it straight out. So no drama there. So looking at the timing, so again, just make sure everything is all okay before we start taking anything, because after this point you will be taking the tensioner off. So looking at the bottom one, there is a slight, it's going to go underneath, might be easier for you to show me. If you have a look at the teeth, there is a bit of a coolant leak as well, from either before or now, but as you can see the teeth, the one that indicates is the TDC, so there's one missing there. So that is the one that indicates the TDC. And if we look from the top, someone looks like they've marked the pulley down there before as well. So that is the one with the tooth, as you can see, and it is marked up with the mark on the timing case where it needs to be. And everything's all where it should be, so them tools line up perfect. So what I'm going to do now is undo the tensioner bolt there, and then we'll get this belt off, and then we'll get the water pump off and get that all sealed up first. So you can see I've took the tensioner off now, so I've took the one belt off. You do have to take this tool out just like this, just to get the belt off. So the crank pulley do stay still, you can pop it back in there. So it's just held on. As you can see there, I've got a socket on the lower one and the top bolt, so there's a bit of a plastic cover that comes off with it too. You see I've just started to undo them bolts, you can see the coolant's coming out. Good job we are changing this water pump, so this was the tensioner that sits just below it. As you see, coolant's been leaking all over it, so that is a problem. So I'll resolve them soon by doing this as well, just like this maintenance thing. Actually does have a fault. The car with the cooling system, it looks like, it's just starting to leak. So let's say, do them two, and then we'll get this pump off. So the water pump's off now, so just to show you, this was the pump, and you can see it's been leaked straight out the pump as well. Also down the side you can see it's leaking there and through there, so a couple of spots where this has been coming from over time. So just come in the kit there that I'm using, so you get the Cambelt, you get the water pump, you get all the tensioners, idlers, everything that comes along with that. So I've got one tensioner, two idlers, should be two belts, so one belt at the bottom, one belt at the top, the water pump and the alternator belt. So gonna get this water pump in, get it sealed up, get these belts in place. So the water pump is on, the water pump's on, all torqued up. So now, you see to the belt up, so now I need to undo this tensioner and get the other belt off. So just do that, so you undo this one bolt, you take that tensioner, we'll take the belt off, and then we'll go about replacing that. So I've removed the old one, so this is a new one going back on. So let's see when you take it off. Have a look. I think these do just maybe move just a little touch. So see that one maybe just a little bit out. So what I'll do now is I'll just put this around that one. What I'll do now is I'll get this line back up, pop in, get these tools back in. So that one's all good. So it's just this one, this little bit of adjustment. Get back in, you can see now the tools aren't straight either. So this one does just need a little tweaks, just put something on there. They go to come straight in actually. So once I get to that bit, once I've got the belt off, it's time to back up. So you put the belts back on, then put the tensioner back on. So it's always good to make sure your cams are in the right place as quick as you can be and get them back on. So I've got them in now, so the marks are lined back up, so always keep an eye on your marks as well. Someone's already marked it. Have a look at these pulleys, you see these are pushed right in now, so I didn't quite have it far in a second when I did this, the last bit of video. But one thing I've got now, so it's the benefits of having an endoscope. As you can see where the pin goes in, I do like to look underneath. If I look underneath there, I can see it is in the hole it needs to be. And again on the other side, again if I put the endoscope just underneath, so having the endoscope is a great tool. You can use it for lots of things, and again as you see in there, so I know I'm exactly where I need to be, so this rules everything out. So I'll get this belt on now, get that tensioner on. So just coming to put the tensioner on now, and as it tells us to, when you're putting it on, so turn it clockwise to begin with to get the belt on, then put the tensioner on, put the bolt in, then turn it anti-clockwise, then it's tension up until it lines up with this mark. So got the endoscope on it, as you can see the mark is off, so it's just down there. So what you'll do then is put the in the Allen key hole here, and as you turn this anti-clockwise, you'll see the belt will start to go. See, so this is taking the strip, the belt, as you go anti-clockwise, as you can see then the needle will move, so you want to give it to that point there and torque that up. So I'm just going to do that, so you need 2 amps for that. So I've got the Cambelt on as well now, so I put it all around top, tools back in, marks all line back up. it's all on down the bottom, as you can see around the bottom, pretty around time belts. And as you can see there, the tensioner is lined up around that bolt, and there is a little pointer located just right there. And what that needs to do is it needs to line up the bolt. So as you can see with the starges, it needs to be torqued up to 20 Newton meters. And see, as you turn it, that little nodder needs to line up in between that, so it's just past the bolt and in between there. So again, I will use my endoscope just so I can get a good visual on what's going on. So there's you can see that little gap that it's talking about just there. So as I turn this round, as you can see, the nodder will move and it'll have to go just right there, and then you sort that up. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, you're going to need 2 hands for that, and then this job will be all completed pretty much. This is put everything back on, so I won't record that. I'll just record the final bit when I start it. As you've seen how the rest of it comes off, so it's just the reverse of that order. So it's all back together, as you can see. Alternator belts on as well. Always turn the engine over as well twice, so 720 degrees before we started it. Top your coolant, leave the cap off so it can bleed itself up. So you should see fluid coming out the top hose after a while. But we'll go for a start. So I haven't started it yet. So let's make that. Everything is all grand. So let's go for a start. Always make sure it's set in gear. Sound. So you see that, car starts straight up. That's also due a service as well at inspection. So, all good. So I hope you find this video useful. Thank you.